Alright guys, what is going on? So today I want to talk about bulking. So recently I've been kind of flirting with cutting sometimes, bulking other times, maintenance. But generally when I've achieved results, it's been because I've been bulking. And not always like, okay, I'm actively trying to get X amount of calories. But like when I was younger, I would just think, oh, I'm lifting, I have to eat. And I back then wasn't even trying to necessarily build a ton of muscle, but I was trying to get stronger. And I figured, to get stronger, you have to eat. That's something I've heard for quite a while. And it's definitely true. And I think being in a surplus, like if you're trying to get stronger, and even if you're trying to get aesthetic, build muscle, you should really bulk for a period. Like you don't have to do a dirty bulk or anything like that. In fact, I don't recommend dirty bulks. But bulking for a long period of time and then cutting for a shorter period of time, if you're really worried about the aesthetic, is going to be more effective. Now, if you're just trying to get big and strong, not as worried about the aesthetics, which is probably a route I recommend, bulking, being on creatine, stuff like that, for a long period of time is going to be helpful. So that's, I guess I said one thing right away. Being on creatine is going to have you, you're going to be a little bit heavier. You're going to have a little bit of water weight. And if you're trying to, get a certain body weight, like you need to be a low weight or anything like that, none of these strategies are going to work for you. So this is only for like if you're trying to get bigger and stronger, and you're struggling with that. Now, if you are worried about your weight for whatever your, sport is or whatever, then I don't know about that. I'm not, for me, it's more just like recreational fitness and stuff like that. So anyway, tip one, creatine. People like to cycle on, cycle off. There's not really a need to do that. I think creatine is probably, in terms of like supplements that you're actually going to take, like nothing like steroids or anything like that, but just, a legal, good thing that you're going to use. I think creatine is probably the most effective. It's cheap, and I don't think you should cycle off it. I think, there can be periods where you don't have it, but there's no need to do that. So I think creatine is one where you should definitely use that. Two, again, obviously you have to be in a surplus to be gaining mass, and you can gain strength not on a surplus, but this is just strictly talking about bulking. But I think a lot of people will go too far with it. So they'll, you hear this all the time, somebody's dirty bulking. So if somebody is a beginner and they're dirty bulking, they can see great gains, especially if they're one of those skinny guys who just struggles to get calories. If they up their calories a bunch and they lift a lot, they're going to get good results. And they can even stay very lean during that time. And this will work in the beginning. And in fact, I would recommend that if you're going to do it, I wouldn't recommend that you do it, but if you do, you should do it in the beginner stages when you have a ton of muscle to gain anyway. It's probably the best time to do it. But eventually you're going to learn that it's not sustainable. You're going to gain a certain amount of muscle, and then all that extra calories that you take in, most of them are going to go to fat, and it's just not going to be worth it to have all these excess calories entering your system when you can really only gain muscle at a certain rate after a certain time. So yeah, if you're like in your first, second, maybe even third year, you can probably get away with a dirty bulk at some point. But realistically, a longer, more sustainable bulk with foods that are healthier is going to be better. Now, what you're going to eat is up to you. Maybe you're vegan, maybe you're vegetarian, maybe you're trying to do ketosis, or I don't know. All these different diets, I don't do anything special like that. I have done intermittent fasting in the past. Wasn't really able to do anything with that. It's kind of my natural eating habit. Like I don't really like to eat in the morning. But if you're going to do that, if you're going to do intermittent fasting, if you're going to do some certain type of diet, you're going to have to adjust accordingly. But realistically, you should try and figure out your maintenance at a certain weight, and then just add maybe like 500 calories. So no need to go, my maintenance is roughly 3,500. So, if your maintenance is 3,500, you shouldn't be eating 5,000, right? You should be eating closer to 4,000, maybe a little bit more, to be safe, but you don't need to go 1,500 calories extra if you're already, more of an intermediate lifter. Again, if you're a beginner, you can get away with a lot of stuff, but these rules don't really apply to that. So, again, smaller surplus around the 500 calorie range. And if, you're struggling to get that surplus, like if you're trying to eat a lot, and you still just can't get there, I got a couple other tips. One is going to be, and obviously, again, different diets. This might not apply to you, but milk is a very good way to get extra calories. I saw somebody talk about olive oil shots to get extra calories, and that just kind of was really weird to me. Like, yes, you are getting fats if you need them, but it's such a weird thing to do, and it's gross, and I don't know. I would not recommend olive oil shots. I tried it one time. I don't think I'm ever going to do it again. But milk is very easy. So a lot of times, I have pint glasses lying around. So an 8-ounce glass of milk, if you get whole milk, is going to be about 150 calories. If you fill a pint with it, it's going to be about 300 calories. So a quick 300 calories, you can just chug it down. Whole milk is high in fat, high in protein. It's nutritious. And I think it's something where you can like wash your food down with it. It's not going to make you too full. You shouldn't drink tons of milk like all at once, but if you spread it out throughout the day, it's a very good way to get extra calories in. There is the gallon of milk a day diet, which I've never actually done, but the concept of that is just, eat the normal food that you would if you're not gaining weight, and then just add a gallon of milk to that, and you'll definitely hit your goals. And that's a bit excessive. I would say maybe like a third of a gallon a day or something like that. And again, I understand if you don't want to drink milk or if you're lactose intolerant or anything like that, but that's one strategy that I found. But you can mix it up. You can do like, if you do whey proteins or soy proteins or something along those lines, maybe you mix those, a different type of protein with juice, mix it up, but drinking calories is basically the idea here. And if you can find a way to do that, that's great. If you can't do any of those, I got another tip. Just find a calorically dense food. So a lot of times these are going to be foods that are high in fat. So milk is pretty high in fat. A lot of people talk about avocados. I don't like avocados, and I don't really eat them, but there are certain foods like that. My personal go-to is peanut butter. So, peanut butter, you don't have to, eat a ton of it, but you can just grab a little spoonful here and there. I wash it down with milk, and you get a really quick amount of calories. You get healthy fats. You're getting a good amount of protein, and it's just a good option. Now, I will eat like peanut butter sandwiches. I don't do the jelly, which, if you're into that, you can totally do that. But for me, it's like, protein, carbs, fat, all in one meal. Oftentimes it's going to be one of my post-workout things. And I think calorically dense foods like that are another way to hit those. Now, the final thing, I guess, would just to have a plan for your diet. So for me, it's like I eat good quality bread, but I buy a lot of bread to make sandwiches for. I do like lean meat, but I make sure that, I'm not super conscious of like trying to get the leanest stuff ever, but, I'll do like deli meats or other kinds of meats I eat at work, and I do stuff like that. I try and mix it up as much as possible. But when I'm at home, I do those lean meats, peanut butter, bread. I do eggs every morning. Obviously, I'm putting cheese in my omelets, do a variety of things like that. But I basically eat a lot of the same staples. So it's going to be like eggs, cheese, bread, milk, peanut butter, turkey or ham. And then I'll eat different stuff at work as well to try and get a little bit more variety, do some vegetables there and stuff like that. But a lot of you want to try and eat the same foods to really, gauge how much protein, how much carbs, fat, stuff like that you're getting into your diet. So if you consistently eat the same things at home, yeah, obviously you're going to be going out to eat sometimes. You're going to get different meals from different sources. But if you can keep your staples together and like, you're eating eggs every day, if you're eating, sandwiches, whatever those may be, or a lot of people, maybe they do chicken and rice, whatever your deal is, just stick to those staples so you have an idea of where your maintenance is. And then if you're struggling to get those extra calories, look for your favorite calorically dense food. Maybe it's peanut butter, maybe you can do the milk, maybe you can't. But if I, being 235 pounds, can easily, get to my maintenance and get past that in bulk and continue to do that, I don't think it's really an excuse to not be able to get. It's like, I don't think you need to eat 7 times a day. I normally eat like 3 or 4 times a day. just like a normal person. So I think just doing that, you know, you're going to be able to hit your goals. And then my final tip would just be breakfast is pretty important. And not because it's like, oh, you're waking up your body and doing all this. But for me, it's like if I spend a lot of time sleeping. So I go to bed pretty late, but then I also wake up pretty late. And if I went that whole time without any food, you know, my body's going to want some type of nutrients. So I try and get a little bit in my system because of that. Now, you don't need to eat this amazing breakfast and eat 1,000-calorie breakfast and have all these balanced everything. You don't need to do that, but getting some type of protein, you know, maybe some carbs in your system as soon as possible after those hours that you went without nutrients is going to be a good idea. Now, for me, I've never been a morning person. I've never been somebody who likes to eat in the morning. I oftentimes will skip breakfast. That's why something like intermittent fasting is pretty, you know, easy for me to do. But if you can just get a little bit of calories in and you can get into that habit, you're going to be able to squeeze more calories in throughout the day. You know, if you are going to do intermittent fasting, something like that, and you're struggling to get calories, you know, I don't know about adjusting to certain diets, but these are just some tips that I've found that have really helped me achieve good results when I'm bulking. And so I'm actually, you know, going to be doing this as well. I've been doing some intermittent fasting and going on and off with the cut and the bulk and the maintenance and everything. And I'm just going to say, hey, you know, I'm just going to try and get a little bit more strength here. My goal personally is to be classified as obese. So hit 241 pounds. And then maybe once I get to that point, then I will start cutting. But until then, you know, I don't really feel like, I feel like it's just naturally I'm gaining strength right now and I don't want to ruin that. So that's something that I'm going to be doing as well. So if you have any questions about, you know, maybe you have this certain thing in your diet that, you know, you can't do, or like maybe some food tips or whatever, I can answer them, but I'm pretty much at this point an expert bulker, at least in terms of getting my calories in. Now, in terms of like actually gaining the muscle, you know, some have done it better than me, but I think it's pretty easy to get those, especially somebody my size. If I can do it, I think you can do it. So those are some tips, and let me know if you have any questions.